Have you ever noticed someone who almost never posts pictures online? No selfies, no birthday photos, no vacation updates, no carefully framed moments meant to be seen. In a world where sharing has become second nature, these people stand out by being almost invisible. Scroll through social media and you'll see faces everywhere. Smiles, achievements, celebrations, carefully selected moments meant to signal presence, existence, participation, being part of something. And then there are the ones who stay silent. They watch, but don't post. They live, but don't document. They exist, but don't announce it. Most people don't think much about it, but when they do, assumptions appear quickly. They're shy. They're antisocial. They must be insecure. They don't have much going on. But psychology suggests something different. Human behavior is rarely random, especially in environments designed to reward attention. When someone consistently chooses not to participate in that system, it usually says something, not about what they lack, but about how they think. Because choosing not to post repeatedly in a culture built around visibility is not neutral. It's a decision, and decisions come from internal processes, beliefs, values, emotional regulation, and self-perception. So the real question isn't why they don't post. The real questions are, what's happening in their minds that makes them avoid this common behavior? And why do they choose not to engage with the immediate reward of likes? What if people who don't post their pictures online aren't insecure, but selective? What if silence online doesn't signal absence, but self-containment? What if not sharing is not avoidance, but awareness? This is not about romanticizing invisibility, and it's not about claiming moral superiority. It's about understanding a different psychological orientation, one that becomes increasingly rare in a world driven by exposure. To understand it, we need to look at how social media interacts with identity, validation, and emotional regulation. Let's start with something fundamental. Social media is not just a platform, it's an environment. And like all environments, it rewards certain behaviors. It rewards visibility. It rewards frequency. It rewards reaction. Likes, comments, views, these are not neutral signals. They function as feedback loops. Every time you post and receive engagement, your brain registers a form of social reinforcement. This reinforcement is not inherently bad, but it is powerful. Over time, it trains people to associate self-expression with external response. The more visible you are, the more you are acknowledged. The more you are acknowledged, the more you feel validated. This is where many people unconsciously shift something important. They outsource self-worth. Instead of asking, "How do I feel about my life?" they ask, "How is my life received?" Now consider what it means to step away from that system. People who rarely post pictures often have a high privacy orientation. This doesn't mean secrecy, it means selectivity. They value control over how much of their inner and outer life becomes public. Not because they are hiding, but because they understand that not everything needs an audience. Psychologically, this points to a stronger boundary between the private self and the public self. Many people blur that boundary. Their internal experiences spill outward constantly. Every emotion becomes content. Every moment becomes a signal. People who post less tend to pause before sharing. They ask themselves questions, sometimes unconsciously. Why would I post this? What am I looking for here? Who is this really for? That pause matters because it interrupts automatic behavior. Another key element is self-validation. Most people don't seek likes because they are shallow. They seek them because they are human. Approval has always mattered. What changed is the scale and speed. Before, approval came from a few people. Now it comes from hundreds or thousands instantly. People who don't post pictures often rely less on this system. Their sense of satisfaction doesn't depend on public acknowledgement. They don't need to announce their experiences to feel that those experiences were real or meaningful. That doesn't mean they don't enjoy life. It means they process enjoyment internally. This connects to self-concept clarity, a psychological trait describing how clearly and consistently someone understands who they are. People with high self-concept clarity don't need constant reflection from others to know themselves. They know what matters to them. They know what aligns with their values. They know what they're working toward. Because of that, they are less reactive. They don't chase trends aggressively. They don't compare as often. They don't feel pressure to perform identity. For them, identity is lived, not displayed. Another layer is emotional security. Posting frequently can sometimes function as reassurance-seeking behavior. Not always, but often. When someone feels unsure internally, external feedback becomes stabilizing. A post receives engagement, anxiety lowers, the cycle repeats. People who post less tend to regulate emotions differently. They don't need constant confirmation to feel okay. They don't need to prove they are doing well. They don't need to signal happiness to believe in it. This is associated with secure self-esteem, a form of confidence that doesn't fluctuate dramatically based on external input. Secure self-esteem is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't defend itself aggressively. It simply exists. Another often overlooked trait is introspection. People who remain quiet online are frequently more inward-oriented. They think before they speak. They observe before they react. They reflect before they share. This aligns with something psychologists call an internal locus of evaluation. This means they evaluate themselves based on internal standards rather than external opinions. As a result, they prefer depth over exposure, a meaningful conversation over a public post, a lived moment over a documented one. Then there's the awareness of illusion. Social media doesn't show reality. It shows highlights. People who post less often understand this deeply, sometimes because they've experienced that distortion firsthand. They know how easily comparison creeps in, how effortless it is to feel behind, how quickly someone else's curated life can trigger self-doubt. Psychologists refer to this as social comparison theory. When people constantly compare their lives to others' highlights, dissatisfaction increases. By staying low-key, people who don't post pictures reduce exposure to that cycle. They are not immune to comparison, but they are less immersed in it. They choose peace over performance. Now here's something important to clarify. Not posting pictures does not automatically mean someone is emotionally intelligent, confident, or grounded, and posting pictures does not mean the opposite. This is not a judgment. It's a tendency. The key is intent. People who don't post because they feel unworthy, ashamed, or afraid of judgment are in a different psychological position than those who don't post because they don't feel the need. One comes from fear, the other comes from choice. The difference matters, and it leads us back to responsibility. Every interaction with social media shapes the relationship you have with yourself. Every post, every scroll, every comparison. You are not passive in this process. You are participating. And participation, whether active or silent, reflects internal orientation. The goal is not to stop posting. The goal is to become conscious of why you post, or why you don't. And that clarity comes from 3 principles. 1. Understand your motivation. Before sharing anything, ask one simple question. What am I looking for right now? Connection, validation, expression, distraction? There is no wrong answer, but unconscious answers create dependency. Awareness creates choice. 2. Strengthen internal validation. Practice letting moments be complete without witnesses. Enjoy something without documenting it. Achieve something without announcing it. Feel proud without posting proof. This trains your nervous system to associate satisfaction with internal states, not external reactions. 3. Curate your digital exposure. You don't need to leave social media to protect your mental health, but you do need boundaries. Limit comparison, reduce noise, choose intention over habit. What you repeatedly consume shapes how you see yourself. People who don't post their pictures online are not invisible. They are simply not performing visibility. They don't need to be seen to feel real. And that doesn't make them better. It makes them oriented differently. In a culture that confuses exposure with meaning, choosing privacy can be a form of clarity. The question is not whether you should post or not. The question is whether your digital behavior reflects who you are or who you're trying to convince others you are. In the next video, we'll explore how dopamine is connected to social media and how it affects your productivity. If this resonated with you, click the video. But first subscribe, like, and follow. And remember, here, we don't just scroll through lives, we decode minds.